Hi, my name's Olivia Emmett and I'm with Kentucky State Parks. I work at Cumberland Falls State Resort Park. Welcome to the Recreation Station. Today we're going to be talking about geology and how old this area is. I'm going to be using a tape measure as my timeline and we're going to walk back in time. Let's start off with the first humanoids. They're going to be represented as the first 3 inches of this timeline. Let's walk over. The first humanoids have been here, that's everybody that we've ever been related to, for the first 2 million years. And that's, like I said, going to be represented in the first 3 inches of this timeline. To give us some perspective, we're going to talk about some other geologic features around the world. The next mountain range that we're going to talk about is the Himalayan mountains. It was created 55 million years ago. Now, that sounds like a long time, but we're going to learn it's not that long ago compared to how old this area is. We're going to represent that at 20 inches. The next mountain range that we're going to talk about is the Rocky Mountains. It's a little bit older than the Himalayan mountains, and it is going to be represented at 24 inches, being 70 million years old. To give us some more perspective, we're going to talk about some dinosaurs. The dinosaur extinction happened 66 million years ago, and we are going to represent that at 35 inches. Alrighty, dinosaur extinction. When were the first dinosaurs? Well, 252 million years ago. We're going to represent that at 80 inches. And I want to take a moment here, and I want you to realize how long the dinosaurs were here compared to the first 3 inches of all humanoids being on this earth. The dinosaurs were here for a really long time. It's pretty incredible. The next thing I'm going to talk about is this area where we are right now, the Cumberland Plateau. It uplifted out of the ocean, much like the other mountain ranges that we've talked about. However, like the Himalayas and the Rockies, the 2 tectonic plates pushed the mountains up to tippy-top points. Well, the Cumberland Plateau is a little bit different, where it's still pushed up, but in a table type like fashion. And everything was flat when it first came up. That is the meaning of plateau. So when you get to the top of an area and you look across the landscape, you'll notice that relatively all of the mountain or all of the hilltops and hollers are relatively the same height. And that's because it all uplifted at the same time. Well, that happened 285 million years ago. We're going to represent that at 100 inches. The next thing I'm going to talk about, a rock that is famous for this area, coal. The first coal deposition happened 350 million years ago. We're going to represent that at 126 inches. Now, what is coal made out of? It's actually made out of plants, ancient plants. And the first plants that ever existed on this earth was 470 million years ago. This is what created the coal depositions that we have now. We're going to put that at 198 inches. Now I'm taking another moment, just like the dinosaurs. Look how long it took to create coal. Coal is old, out of ancient plant material. Now we're going to take out some rocks and look at them and talk about how old they are. Coal. This we actually found down by the falls. You'll notice that it's really round, and that's because it's been tumbled in the water. This, I'll tell you a secret, is one of the only rocks that we will let you take in the park. Why is that? Why will we let you take it? Well, the coal isn't very good for the aquatic life. It makes things really acidic. And so it's not technically supposed to be there. It's actually there because of old coal mines that are dotted up and down the Cumberland River. And when the water rises, it gets into those old coal mines and then washes that coal out, and you find it at places like Cumberland Falls. So if you want a rock to take home, don't take the pretty sandstone and other things that you might find, because that's against our policy of leave no trace. Not only do we not litter, but we also don't take things. However, this coal is not supposed to be here, so you can take as much coal as you would like if you visit Cumberland Falls. What's another rock that we can talk about? Well, what created Cumberland Falls was this type of rocks. These two types of rocks, rather. This is sandstone. So is this. They kind of look different though, don't they? This is called rock castle conglomerate, or conglomerate sandstone. You see how all of the different pebbles in there has a different texture than this sandstone that is smooth. Well, rock castle conglomerate is a lot harder and tougher and resists erosion much more than this softer sandstone. Well, when it's underneath that ancient ocean, all that sediment that piles up and up and up isn't made of the same materials. Sometimes there's more rocks and clay and other types of material, making it this harder sandstone over time. Sometimes it's a little bit more silty, and it creates a softer sandstone over time. Well, you have the softer sandstone above and below this harder sandstone. And the process of erosion, which one is eroded first? The softer one. So you get these layers that are exposed of the softer sandstone, and that's exactly what is happening to the waterfall. In fact, if you took all the water away from Cumberland Falls, it would be like a mini rock shelter. And that's because that softer sandstone has eroded away, leaving a little ledge of the waterfall. Now, what does that mean? Well, after so much rock is eroded away and nothing there is to hold it up, what happens? It falls. So the waterfall is actually moving upstream. Let's talk about some other types of rocks. This is an ancient fossil, and so is this. You think that they might be different. This might be coral, not so much. It's actually an ancient plant, and so is this. This is ancient horsetail. This is ancient club moss. Both of these plants still exist today. You can go out and find these plants, but they look a little bit different. There was a lot more oxygen in the atmosphere when these plants grew. So this used to grow to 100 feet tall. However, now club moss only grows a couple inches. However, you can still find it. Horsetail, similarly, used to be a lot bigger too. Not as dramatic as the club moss, but it still is a lot smaller. Now it's about this thick around, rather than you can see it being a little more thick here. Some other types of fossils are from imprints that happened. Here you can see that might look like scales, but in fact, it's quite similar to this fossil right here. This is a club moss. However, it's like Play-Doh, how it got pressed in and created that pattern. So you can find fossils that used to be the actual plant, or you can find fossils that are imprints of that plant. Similarly, we can take a look at this, and you will see an imprint of the fossils of the ancient plants that were in this area. Now, notice everything that I brought out so far, we're not finding any dinosaurs, right? Well, that's because, remember, the Cumberland Plateau uplifted out of that ancient ocean before the dinosaurs existed. So any fossils that you're going to find here are going to be ancient plants or ancient sea life. Speaking of which, this is ancient coral. Now this is a little bit out of our range here at Cumberland Falls. This was found in Pulaski County, which is a little bit east of us and slightly north of us. That's because the Cumberland Plateau is we're just barely on the edge of that plateau. And so it's a different geological range of where you can find these, even though Pulaski County isn't that far from us. This type of coral is called horn coral, and it is probably close to 400 million years old. Another rock that we found in Pulaski County is this geode. Again, you're not going to find it in this area just because we are on that edge of that geologic range, but it's not that far away, and isn't that beautiful? The last type of stone that I'd like to talk about is quartz crystal. Now, quartz crystal is actually one of the more common rocks found in the entire world. We think of crystal, we think of rare, but actually quartz crystal is very common. You will find this all over the state of Kentucky, and it's quite beautiful even though it's common. The last thing that I want to talk about with all of these rocks is that you can start your own collection. However, you need to know where you can collect rocks because every place has different rules. There are certain areas that you are able to go collect. There are other areas such as Cumberland Falls where you are not able to collect. It's just kind of like when you go to a friend's house and their parents might have different rules than your parents. Well, the same thing goes for different areas of public lands. You need to know where you are and what the rules are. Like I said, all Kentucky state parks have a leave no trace policy. That means you can't take anything because it belongs to all of us. The park belongs to you, me, and everybody. It's everybody's park, and we should keep it the way that it is so everybody can enjoy it. I hope you have a good week. Thank you.